a lot of backlash that's continuing to emerge in response to the brutal Biden regime. So 6 state attorneys general have now warned Biden over potential presidential outreach. This is from the Epoch Times. There's a letter from 6 AGs that puts the Biden administration on notice that any actions that might exceed their statutory authority or are inconsistent with constitutional tenets or place civil liberties at risk could trigger legal action by the states. So which 6 states signed this letter? Well, it was West Virginia, it was Arkansas, Indiana, Mississippi, Montana, and Texas. I'm actually a little surprised that Montana's in there. Montana has been overtaken by leftists, it seems, moving there from California. But the other states, I recognize that, I understand that. I'm just wondering, where's Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Wyoming, Utah, Idaho, Nevada, even Arizona. Where are all these other states? They should have signed on as well. But there is resistance rising quite rapidly against the Biden regime. There was an interesting interview of Chris Ruddy on Newsmax. Well, he's the Newsmax CEO, and he was being interviewed, and he said that now that the President Trump is out of the swamp, he can be, quote, president of the world. And he talks about why he thinks that's the case. Trump has more freedom now to act to influence policy on a global scale, and it's very clear that Trump has many plans to do so. And also, in terms of the rising resistance and the conservative movement of voting with your dollars, similar to what we saw with the Robinhood platform and the people having a populist movement to cause the hedge funds to lose billions of dollars, we saw after Bed Bath & Beyond originally had threatened to remove Mike Lindell's, MyPillow products, we saw that they experienced a 36% drop in their stock price in a single day because conservatives who support Mike Lindell were selling the Bed Bath & Beyond stock. Now, it may have recovered since then. I'm not tracking it every day, but just if you can cause a corporation to lose more than a third of their valuation in one day, you can bet you're setting off massive panic in the halls of that corporation. The CEOs, they would have been absolutely reaching for the adult diapers that day. So it just shows the power, and it's a power that we, the people, need to get used to asserting. We, the people, need to bind together and decide where we want to put our attention and where we want to put our dollars. We need to seek out platforms that support freedom of speech, but also to support businesses that support freedom of speech and are fighting for freedom in America, which is why I feel so humbled that you're supporting my own company, healthrangerstore.com, our platforms such as brighteon.com, and so on, because we're in this fight for all the reasons that matter most. We're using the revenue resources that we have been granted by people like you to build platforms that allow for freedom of speech. And as I've already mentioned here, we're also then exploring other avenues and building systems to mirror our publishing sites on the dark web, accessible through Tor browsers and so on. There's a lot more coming in that realm as well. So we're not stopping at where we are right now. We are nimble. We are well-funded thanks to your generosity, and we are absolutely fighting for human freedom and human awakening on a global scale, just like the Epoch Times is, but, we do it a little bit differently. All right. Now, in case you were curious how quickly Biden is going to crush the U.S. economy, it's going to happen pretty quickly. The Daily Caller reported the Biden Commerce Secretary nominee ran the state that was ranked worst for commerce. That's right. Rhode Island Democrat Governor Gina Raimondo, is that how you pronounce that? Raimondo, Wallet Hub ranked the state last on its 2019 list called Best and Worst States to Start a Business, and CNBC ranked Rhode Island as the 48th worst state for commerce in its 13th annual America's Top States for Business Guide. And this was reported by Fox News. Now, why does this matter? Because this woman, Gina Raimondo, she's looks like she's going to be the Commerce Secretary for the whole country under Biden. Again, remember, Democrat ideas don't work. They can never run on the merits of their policies because their policies suck. Their policies lead to destruction. And that's why, I mean, they tap these people to come in and destroy the country. If you wanted somebody to harm America's economy, wouldn't you pick the person that drove their own state into the dumps? Yeah, and that's what they're doing. They found her. Her name's Gina. She's like the one to come in and destroy the nation, economically speaking, and that's who they're picking. You see, that's the difference. Trump tries to pick the best people. Biden tries to pick the worst. Because Trump is trying to save America, Biden's trying to crush it. And that's why they pick the worst people they can find. They literally try to find the worst possible people who will cause the most damage. Now, Breitbart's reporting that Democrat lawmakers are calling for recurring stimulus payments in a coronavirus relief bill. Recurring stimulus payments, all right? It's a universal basic income, basically. You get a monthly stipend from the government, and it's going to be paid to illegal immigrants as well. So the story says dozens of House lawmakers, led by Representative Ilhan Omar, oh, are we surprised there? Ilhan Omar, who hates this country, are calling for future coronavirus relief measures to include recurring stimulus payments that extend to those who have individual taxpayer identification numbers, and that includes illegal immigrants. So you got it? This is the Biden economy utopia where everybody gets paid to do nothing, except your only job is to vote for Democrats. And they don't even need that because they've got the machines rigged anyway. So they're just going to give you government money month after month after month. Now, because they're Democrats, they never think about the obvious questions. Who's going to do the labor in America? Who's going to sweep the floors? Who's going to take out the trash? You know, who's going to make the pizzas? I used to work at Pizza Hut. I mentioned that when I was in high school. I used to make the pizzas. I used to sweep the floors. Who's going to do that when everybody's getting paid to not work? Who's going to run the restaurants? Who's going to wait the tables? Huh? Who's going to restock the grocery store shelves? Who's going to chop meat at the meat plants? Answer? Well, nobody, because they're all going to be getting this universal basic income. What Democrats want to do is convert the entire economy to government-sponsored welfare. And in doing so, they know they will create a crisis that is characterized by food shortages. This is their model. Shut everything down, create essentially famine, and then put everybody on food stamps and put everybody on welfare through the stimulus program, right? Bring in a bunch of illegal aliens and then bring in a new national commerce director who's an expert at crushing economies. This is the Biden plan. So if you're wondering how long is it going to take for Biden's ratings to sink close to 30%, it's not going to take that long. In fact, I see Biden as being sort of the Jimmy Carter of the 2020s, but way less intelligent than Jimmy Carter. I mean, Jimmy Carter, he's a guy who's got some brains. He's got a heart. You know, he's a real human being. Even to this day, Jimmy Carter is way more capable than Joe Biden. And you may not be old enough to remember this, or maybe you are, but I was a kid when Jimmy Carter was president. And he was elected, I think, in 76, and then he served until he was replaced by Reagan after the 1980 election. Now, Jimmy Carter drove America into economic suicide. And I don't know if you recall this, but interest rates were something like 20% under Carter. There was a national shortage of oil and gasoline. And I remember as a kid sitting in a car waiting in a gas line for hours and seeing the gas prices go insane. I don't know how high they went at that time. I don't remember what the gas prices were, but I think I remember that regular gas was something like 49 cents or something, but then it went crazy. And Jimmy Carter, like a lot of Democrats, had no clue what he was doing because he had no experience running anything that was complex and large, like, i.e., a national government. This is why we would have been so much better off with Trump, because Trump ran major organizations, construction and entertainment organizations, hotels and all that kind of thing. Trump knows how to manage people. If they would just follow his orders, he would have achieved so much more. But Joe Biden can't even do as good as Jimmy Carter did. And Jimmy Carter drove the nation to the brink of disaster. That's why the whole country gave a sigh of relief when Ronald Reagan was elected in 1980. And guess what happened? Oh, the American hostages were immediately freed from the Iranian embassy, and then fuel prices stabilized in 1981. Things became more stable, more secure, and more abundant. Reagan put money into national defense. He eventually drove the Soviet Union to its own demise, mostly through financial pressures. The USSR then, broke up and so on. Reagan was the key architect of defeating the Soviet Union. Jimmy Carter couldn't have defeated the Soviet Union. Jimmy Carter was defeating the United States. Well, I think Biden's going to be remembered as more destructive than Carter. Absolutely more destructive than Carter, and way more destructive than Obama. That's where this is all headed. I mean, did you see the young mom video? This was on 100%fedup.com, and the mom is crying on camera because she can't afford to buy the insulin for her 9-year-old son, who's obviously diabetic. Now the insulin has gone back up to $1,000, or how much she needs. Well, Trump had issued orders that dropped the price of the EpiPens and the insulin and other, key critical drugs and medications that people use. Well, Biden came in and reversed all that with his executive orders, big handouts to big pharma. All of a sudden, moms like the mom in this video can no longer afford to buy insulin for her 9-year-old son. So what's going to happen there? People are already being devastated in their lives by the decisions of Biden, which are designed to punish America and to destroy America. And we're only a little over a week into this.